Hey guys, it's Jem from Stature YGO, and on my last video, a lot of people requested I do a combo tutorial for the SnakeEye list, so that's what I'm going to do in this video. I'm going to start out by just doing the one card combo with Ash, so you know what the goal of the deck is, and then I'll do a few test hands to show how it actually pays. So, starting off with SnakeEye Ash, we're going to go ahead and normal summon the SnakeEye Ash and add Poplar effect on summon, or on search rather, summon itself, and then on summon we add Field Spell. Now, depending on if your opponent Fua'd you, if they haven't Fua'd you yet, you can go to Poplar into Anima, because it doesn't give them an opportunity to chain. But otherwise, if you aren't playing around Fua, there is a slightly better line into other hand traps, which is that here you send both into Oak. Oak 1 target Ash, Poplar 2 target itself. So we place Poplar, summon Ash, and then Oak effect, send 2 to summon Flamberge. Then we'll link Ash and Flamberge into IP. We can just do this now. We can activate tempo while placing the Diabell Star. You always want to do this after Flamberge, so that if they stop your way to Flamberge, you can place it off Field Spell and then send it either with the fusion or with your Ash and Oak if you haven't gone through them yet, depending on how the rest of your hand looks. So now Flamberge is going to trigger. We're going to summon back 2, and then we're going to link one of them off with the IP, summon Promethean effect, place Flamberge, then we're going to link 2 for Hita, because we're fire locked as long as Promethean's on the field. Then we'll go Diabell Star effect. Specifically, we want to place Oak. That's so if we get stopped, let's say they like impermed our Flamberge attempt to put IP in the back, our Oak is our best target on the opponent's turn for Field Spell, because we go Oak into Ash, add another Poplar summon itself, so that's 3 bodies to avoid getting OTK'd. But other than that, our Flamberge will just put the IP in the back row. Then we go 2 bodies into Moon into Requiem into Lacrima effect will send Engraver. Then we could go Requiem target Lacrima, Contact Fuse into Necroquip, then Engraver effect, put back Moon for cost to summon. Now our opponent has to activate Nibiru here if they have it, because we can threaten summoning Caesar with these 2, but we're not. We're going to link into Sequence effect. We are going to put back Engraver, Lacrima, and Requiem to summon Desiree. Link into Agnum Day effect, target the Desiree, summon back. Sequence, target Desiree, send Agnum Day and Oak. The reason we send Agnum Day instead of Sequence is because not only is the targeting protection better, but Agnum Day will boost Desiree over 3000 attack, which means a Typhon would disable it. So we're going to send Oak and Agnum Day into SnakeEye's Doom Dragon. Then there are a lot of ways you can play this out depending on what the rest of your hand looks like, so I'm just going to go through those now. If you were able to get another Light Fiend in Graveyard, and that's accomplishable through any of the Fiendsmith cards or additional extenders, because you can remake Moon after you put it back, which gives you another Light Fiend in Graveyard, which means you can keep Lacrima in Grave. And keeping Lacrima in Graves means you're allowed to use this Desiree as a material, because you can revive Agnum Day on your opponent's turn. So if you were to do that, you would link off these 2 for Silo Hat Rabbit, and Silo Hat Rabbit grab Azurin. Otherwise, you can Doom Dragon place Flamberge in the back row to play around Imperm on your opponent's turn, for example, where they would be able to Imperm Flamberge, and then when they summon a monster, Imperm's no longer live, and you're able to bring out Flamberge off Field Spell. It also plays around some other things like Droplet, where if you hold the Flamberge summon until you use Desiree Negate, they can't Droplet both of your interruptions at the same time, because you would go Desiree negate something, they summon a monster, you go Temple, summon Flamberge, summon IP, link off these 2 for SP, this sends, SP banishes, you know how it is. What I used to do is Doom Dragon would put itself in the back row, but then I realized you can't summon Doom Dragon from the back row because of its condition. You can also link off Flamberge and Doom Dragon for Silo Hat, and Silo Hat set the trap, because you don't actually need Flamberge since the field spell can summon IP for you. And the last option is just to not summon Doom Dragon at all and leave Agnum Day and Oak. This is worse into Typhon, like I said, with the Agnum Day, because it turns off both of your interruptions. I mean, hopefully when your opponent normals like Ash Blossom or like any hand trap, you're just going to summon the IP out anyway. So you're not risking Flamberge getting turned off by Typhon. But it also gives you the power with Oak, where since you're getting 2 summons out of the back row, you're able to get IP and Oak for all that follow-up, that you don't have the space for Ash until you use IP to link off these 2. So yeah, you have a lot of options at the end of your combo. It's a lot of interruptions because you have 2 from SP, 2 from Desiree since you are sending it. So that's already 4 off 1 card, but just every other card in this deck makes this spiral out of control and be insane. So with the 1 card combo out of the way, let's get into the test days. Editor Gem here. I forgot to mention in the last clip that you do have a 5th interruption with Promethean in Graveyard, which when it pops Flamberge revives 2, so you're just not dying. Next test hand. I've gone ahead and shuffled up the deck, so now we have a fully randomized deck. Our opponent cuts it. So the 5 cards we draw are SnakeEye Oak, Triple Tactics Talents, Sky Striker Mobilize Engage, Fiendsmith Engraver, and SnakeEye Ash. This hand is crazy. A couple things to note here before we actually start the combo off. So now obviously we have 3 searchers. We can say 4 if you count the draw 2 off talents. But we have 3 ways to add cards from our main deck to our opponent's hand. So the first thing we need to consider when starting out this combo is how we're going to play around Droll. Now, Ash Add Poplar gets us 2 bodies, but gets drolled, so we don't get anything else from that, except we have access to Flamberge, but we would get that if we couldn't search off this anyway. Engraver gets us full Fiendsmith combo through Droll. And Engage gets us 2 bodies, so the same as Ash. So these are equal. But I think Engraver is worth a little bit more into Droll. So we're going to go ahead and start off by discarding Fiendsmith Engraver and adding Sanct to our hand. Now, if our opponent drolls us, that's all right. Like I said, we still have access to Fiendsmith. We still have access to Flamberge, which is most of our combo. But next, we're going to go ahead and activate Engage. And Engage is going to get our Hornet Drones. Next, we'll activate Sanct, and we'll chain Hornet Drones. Alternatively, you can summon the token and then make Requiem. And that way you still have your main monster zones clear. But I'm just going to chain here so that we get both bodies out. So we summon both. We have 2 tokens. First, we need the downwards arrow. So we're going to go ahead and link off the Fiendsmith token into Requiem. Now that we have a zone here, we can link off the Hornet Drones token into Kagari. Now here we're faced with another decision point. So Kagari can either add back Hornet Drones to give us additional extension, or add back Engage to add Widow Anchor. Once we clear our zones, of course, when we make sequence. And I think adding Engage is a little bit of a simpler line, so I'm just going to add Hornet Drones to see how far we can truly get with this combo uninterrupted. So we add back the Hornet Drones, then we'll go Requiem effect, tribute itself, and summon Lacrima. What's super nice about this Sky Striker stuff is we don't have to actually burn Engage before we get to Desiree. Or sorry, Engraver before we get to Desiree. So Lacrima is going to go ahead and send that Engraver. And then we can link Kagari and Lacrima into sequence. Then we have 4 Light Fiends engrave. We want to keep the Lacrima, like I mentioned with the 1 card combo. So we're going to go sequence effect, and then we're going to chain Hornet Drones when our opponent doesn't respond to it. So Hornet Drones is going to summon itself, and then these 3 are going to go back into their respective locations, and we'll summon Desiree. Now, because this is a non-effect monster, there's not many things we can make with it, but one of the things we can make with it is IP Masquerena. So it's actually fine to have this, though normally in a lot of lines you will just make sequence because it doesn't require effect monsters. Now we're going to go Fiendsmith sequence and Desiree for Agnum Day. This is another place you could have summoned the Hornet Drones, but I think it's fine. Another thing that could be mentioned here is if you don't want the extra body, that you get being able to link off Desiree once you summon it off by keeping Lacrima in grave. You can force Nib by going through Necroquip before you do this line, so that does require you to get Lacrima out of the graveyard, which can be a little clunky. Then we can go Agnum Day effect, summon Desiree. Then we can go Sequence, equip to Agnum Day. Now what we can do here is fuse these off at any time, but for now, I'm going to normal summon Ash, Ash effect, add Poplar. Now obviously Ash is a 1-card combo, but what I hope that I'm showing with these test hands is that you don't always just have to run through the 1-card combo. Like here, we've already done a full combo before we're even normal summoning the Ash. But then we're going to go Poplar effect, summon itself. You always want to add Field Spell with the first search, and then you can get Dramatic from consequent searches after that. But we'll add the Field Spell. Then I'll go SnakeEye Ash effect. I'm trying to think if I want to go through Oak. I think I'm going to decide that I want to save the Poplar place in the back row for after I use the Deep Bellstar, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. What's really nice about Dia Bellstar is that it can place any fire, so a lot of times we can just place Kagari, because if we summon Kagari out of the back row, its effect does trigger on special summon, not just link summon, so we can add back Engage to add a Widowmaker for breaking our opponent's board if they manage to break ours, or we can add back Hornet Drones for extension for the OTK on turn 3. But then we can go ahead and activate SnakeEye Ash, sending itself and let's say this Agnum Day to play around Typhon, which will summon Flamberge. Then I'm going to link 2 for IP. Sorry, we should use these 2 for IP Masquerena. We're not going to use this Poplar effect because we want to save it to be able to use it on this Dia Bellstar. So we're going to make Promethean. Promethean effect, summon Poplar. We can go Desiree, negate the Promethean Princess so that we're no longer locked into fires. Then we can link Promethean and Poplar into a non-dark, which is Silo Hat. And then we're going to go Silo Hat, Chainlink 1, Poplar, Chainlink 2, target Dia Bellstar. And we can add, sorry, not add, set the Angel Statue Azarun. And then we can go Flamberge effect, place IP in the back row. So, to run through the interrupts, not only do we have talents, which makes us even more invulnerable to hand traps, but I tried to play this line through all the hand traps in the game as well as I possibly could, and part of that is not using Flamberge as link material. That means if our opponent Nibiru's us, we still have Flamberge effect to revive 2 level 1 fires, which we have Ash and Poplar in the graveyard still. So if they nibbed us, they should have nibbed us a long time ago, to be honest, because we already have so much interruption here and here with the Silo Hat. But if they were to nib us, we'd only lose the Desiree, and then Flamberge can revive 2, and we can make any of our link monsters. Yeah, for the interruptions, we have our first summon. Among these 2, we can get IP and Kagari for follow-up, Kagari adding back Engage. So this is 2 interruptions because it has the negate on field and it has the effect when we link it off with IP. This is 2 interruptions because we have 2 banishes off SP. This is 1 interruption made into 2 with Silo Hat Rabbit. So that's a total of 6 interruptions so far. And then we have Promethean Princess, which can pop Flamberge, revive 2, add Poplar, Poplar, add Dramatic, SnakeEye Chase. So our opponent's not killing us, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 interruptions on our opponent's turn with amazing follow-up because we have this in graveyard, which means that we can get back Desiree, which means Desiree follow-up is great because we can save this as long as we need to, and then on our turn we have negates for opponent. We have Talent, SnakeEye Chase, Engage, and Oak, which are probably the best possible follow-up cards in the game. And then we have the follow-up of having Flambridge in graveyard. We have Dia Bellstar on field. We can like Dia Bellstar summon, place Flambridge. We have the Agnum Day equipped. We can send these two for fusion. We can revive two. We just have so much follow-up and so much interruptions with this first hand. So I'm going to put this all away and we'll go into the second test hand. All right, now I've shuffled up once again, pass the deck to our opponent. They'll cut for us, and then we draw our 5 cards. Let's see if I can do this first try. That was horrible. So we have Lacrima, Dia Bellstar, Called By, Engage, and Fuelos. So we drew 2 bricks, but let's see what we can do, especially with the backup of Called By. If we go second, we have Fua. That could fix this hand really well as well. And then we have Called By, which means if we use this going second, we can engage and get the second effect of Widow Anchor, which is super good for making mood. So anyway, we're going to start off once again with Engage, add Hornet Drones, activate Hornet Drones, link into Kagari, Kagari effect, add back Hornet Drones, activate Hornet Drones, special summon. What's important to note, I'm pretty sure I mentioned this in the deck profile, but just in case, there is a way to make Engage full Fiendsmith combo, but it does require a lot of extra deck space. So when you make Kagari, add back Hornet Drones, you can link this into Kaina, activate Hornet Drones to summon, gain 100 life points, which is good for time. Then because Kaina points down, you can link off Hornet Drones for Link Spider and have 2 effect monsters. But I digress. Anyway, now that we've gone through the Engage portion, we're going to go normal summon Lacrima, Lacrima effect, dump Engraver. We'll link 2 for really anything. I might go for sequence here. And then we can go link sequence into Requiem. Requiem effect, summon Engraver. Straight from the deck. Then we can go Engraver in graveyard, put back the sequence, and special summon itself. And once again, our opponent is forced to use their Nibiru here if they have it. The unfortunate thing is that if they do have Nibiru here, we don't have any interruptions aside from Called By. We have no way of getting Fua off board or the Nib token off board, so that's unfortunate. But if they do decide not to nib us here, likely because they just don't have it, we can go ahead and link these 2 into... I'm trying to decide what we go through here, because when we're looking at the number of Light Fiends in graveyard, we usually want to keep Lacrima in graveyard to go with Agnum Day, or we can threaten Paradise even though we don't play it. So we want to get both engravers into graveyard first, and a really easy way to do that is just to make IP, and then we can link into sequence this way. This plays around Ogre because this can't be destroyed, which would kind of mess us up because we can't make Agnum Day, but it's not that crazy. I don't think our opponent would waste a Ghost Ogre there, and we can Called By anything important. But we can go sequence, shuffle back these 3. And summon Desiree. Then we link for Agnum Day, effective Agnum Day, place it in the macro, summon Desiree, sequence effect. Now we have a lot of potential bodies here. First way we can get a body is by summoning Doom Dragon. And then we can link these 2 into... We're linking off our Hat Rabbit effect, set Azurin, set Called By, pass. This board is definitely a lot weaker than the first hand, but that does just happen when you draw the Dia Bellstar, and Lacrima for that matter. 3 1-ofs is kind of unfortunate, but we do have 1 interruption, 2 interruption, 3 interruption, and wherever Lacrima is, 4 interruption. 4 interruptions is fine. I mean, if they like go Lightning Storm Duster, I guess we have Fuilos, which could get us into something. This is definitely one of the weaker hands, but I'm glad I was able to show, I guess, the floor of the deck when we're drawing 3 1-ofs like this. I mean, Called By is obviously a good draw. But because that hand was a lot weaker, I'm going to go into a third test hand. Test hand number 3. Here we go. So, opponent cuts the deck. We draw our 5 cards. I swear I can do that. 1 engraver, 1 thrust, 2nd engraver, imperm, engage. So like we talked about with the first hand, when you draw engage and engraver, I think I actually replied to someone's comment with this, but we always start with the engraver. So we're going to go engraver into sanct. Engage. The reason you do have to think about this though, I guess I can mention this now, is if you start engage game 1, then you add, you're much more likely to get ashed on this, which means into ashed roll, if you activate engage first, it's better, but into just roll, activating engraver first is better. I'm doing these hands into 0 hand traps, so it doesn't really matter, but I'm just trying to give you the best picture of this deck possible. But anyway, engage is going to grab us Hornet Drones. Then we can go sanct into token, token into requiem. Activate Hornet Drones, summon itself, link into Kagari, Kagari add back Hornet Drones, requiem effect. Whoa. Now if our opponent negates this requiem with Ash Blossom or Impulse, we have a lot less options to go through. We do still have engraver with a Light Fiend engrave, which means we do still have 2 bodies, so we're not stuck on just a Kagari in the main monster zone. So Ash on Requiem is actually not very good here. But another option we have is we may be forced to tribute summon engraver over Kagari and then revive this engraver, or necroquip so we can put back the other engraver and keep Requiem engrave. But with those 2 options, we can force out Caesar before we continue. Anyway, since we're not playing against a real opponent, we are going to summon Lacrima. Lacrima is going to send our 3rd engraver. Cycle Reader goes crazy here. Then we can link Kagari and Lacrima for sequence. Sequence effect, chain Hornet Drones. Put back Requiem, engraver, engraver. We still haven't used the effect of the engraver and graveyard yet, so it's good to keep at least 1. And then the Lacrima, of course, is always our priority to keep. And putting those 3 back, we're going to be able to summon Desiree. We can link into IP here if we want, but we're not going through Flamberge, so it's kind of pointless. But again, we can play around cards like Ogre. Then we go Agnum Day effect, revive Desiree. Sequence onto the Desiree. Gonna contact fuse into Doom Dragon. I actually don't mind this end board. Now, interruption count here. We have 1 interruption, 2 from SP that we get off IP, 2 from Desiree, because our first interruption will be when we link it off with IP, and our second interruption is when we use Lacrima effect, summon Agnum Day, revive Desiree. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 interruptions so far. Another way we could potentially get more interruptions is, like I said, with the Widow Anchor. Righting my wrongs once again. When I mentioned with the Widow Anchor, I got a bit distracted. What I meant by that is that instead of using Hornet Drones as material, because you added it back off Kagari, you could have added Engage off of Kagari, and then make up for the link material from the second Hornet Drones by just reviving the engraver. And that means Widow Anchor would act as an additional interruption after you use IP, but before you use Agnum Day. Hope that makes sense. But we do have another body here. We could replace the Desiree that send interruption with the Seal Hat interruption by reviving Engraver by putting back Sequence, and then linking with the extra body into a hat rabbit with the Desiree. So our board at the end would look like IP Silo Hat with 2 traps in the back row. That is an option. Inherent summon stops are really powerful, but because your opponent is easily able to summon something that's big enough to attack over the 1800 trap monster body, I am really content with just ending on this end board. You have Thrust in hand for another imperm if your opponent interacted with you at all. You have all those different options I said, so again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 interruptions off 0 SnakeEye cards, just straight Sky Strikers and Fiendsmith. I love the Sky Striker package. It does complicate things, like I said, adding a back off the Kagari, whether it nets you an extra body to make Silo Hat, whether it nets you an extra body to survive, whether it nets you a negate with Widow Anchor, whether it nets you a steal with Widow Anchor, because we would have these spells engrave, and we could have another spell engrave with Thrust. If we do Thrust, that means adding back Engage is always better because it gets us a draw potentially into Snake Eyes. There's just a lot you have to think about with this deck. I hope I was very clear with all the different line options you have, especially with this hand. There's a lot of theory that has to go into these combos. You have to think ahead a lot. I think the Sky Striker package really rewards players who are able to do that really efficiently and really effectively. So that's just another bonus to this engine in the deck. But I hope you guys enjoyed the test hand and combo video. Let me know if you guys want to see more of this type of content where I talk through really in depth all the different lines a deck can do, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out, guys.